All right, let's dive in. Today, we're looking at something I think a lot of you are going to find relevant Java for enterprise applications.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic these days.
For sure. And we're basing this deep dive on a document called Benefits of Hired Java Developers for Enterprise Applications. So whether you're thinking about building a large-scale app or just curious about why Java is so big in the business world, stick with us.
Should be a good one.
So first things first, when we say Java, what are we actually talking about here? Why is it such a big deal for enterprises?
Well, at the most basic level, Java is a programming language, but it's kind of like saying a Swiss Army knife is just a knife, you know?
Yeah, I get that. There's way more to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more like a whole toolbox for building really powerful and reliable software. And why enterprises are so into it? Well, one big reason is that it runs on pretty much any system. You write the code once, and it can run on Windows, Mac, Linux, you name it.
Oh, it's got to be a lifesaver for companies.
Yeah.
Imagine having to write different versions of your software for every single department.
Exactly. Saves so much time and money in the long run.
For sure. That cross-platform compatibility, that has to be a major selling point.
Absolutely. And then there's the scalability. As your business grows, your applications need to grow with you, right? Handling more data, more users, all that. And Java is designed to handle that growth without, breaking down.
So, even if you have a sudden surge of traffic, like on Black Friday, Java can keep up.
Exactly. It's like having multiple lanes on a highway. Each request can be processed at the same time, so everything runs smoothly, even under pressure.
Okay, so it can handle the Black Friday rush, but what about something like, say, those super high-speed trading platforms where every millisecond matters?
Well, there might be other languages that are a bit faster for those really extreme cases.
Oh, I see.
But for most enterprise applications, Java is more than fast enough, especially when you consider all the tools and frameworks that have been built up around it over the years.
Oh, right. It's not just the language itself.
Exactly. Java has this incredibly mature ecosystem. Think about it. We're talking decades worth of libraries, frameworks, and tools, all built and refined by a massive community of developers.
So it's like this giant library of pre-made code components that Java developers can use.
Exactly. And that saves a ton of time and effort because instead of starting from scratch every time, you can build on what others have already done.
That makes a lot of sense. So not only is Java itself pretty powerful, but it comes with this whole support system.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons Java is often seen as a really cost-effective choice for enterprise applications.
Okay, so far we've got cross-platform compatibility, scalability, this massive ecosystem of tools. Anything else? Our source mentions expertise in building scalable solutions. We've already touched on that. But what kind of things do Java developers do to make sure their systems can handle those huge spikes in traffic?
Well, one key thing is database management. You need to be able to store and access information quickly and efficiently, especially when you're dealing with lots of users and data.
So it's not just about having enough storage space, it's about organizing it properly.
Exactly. It's like organizing a giant warehouse. You need to be able to find what you need quickly without getting lost.
Makes sense. And our source also mentioned something called modular architecture. What is that?
That's where you break down the system into smaller, independent modules. Think of it like building with Legos. You can add or remove pieces without affecting the whole structure.
Oh, I like that. So if one part of the system needs more power, you can just scale up that specific module.
Right. And then there's load balancing, which is basically distributing traffic across multiple servers.
Oh, like having multiple cashiers at a busy store so the lines don't get too long.
Exactly. It keeps things moving smoothly.
Smart. Okay, so we've talked about how Java can handle huge amounts of traffic, but what about security? That's got to be a major concern for any business, especially if they're handling sensitive data. Does Java do a good job there?
Oh, absolutely. Security is like baked into Java from the ground up. You've got encryption tools to protect data, strong authentication protocols to verify user identities, and the whole system is constantly being updated to patch any vulnerabilities. It's like having multiple layers of security in place.
So you're saying with Java, companies can feel pretty confident about protecting their data and their users.
Definitely. It's one of the most secure platforms out there.
That's good to hear. Now, I know building enterprise-grade software can get pretty expensive, but our source claims that hiring Java developers can actually be cost-effective in the long run. How does that work? I mean, we talked about the pre-built components, saving time and money, but is there anything else?
Well, one big factor is the sheer number of talented Java developers out there. Lots of competition means companies have more options and can find developers at more competitive rates.
Oh, so it's a supply and demand thing.
Precisely. And on top of that, there are a lot of open source tools and resources for Java, which can bring costs down even further.
So companies can build sophisticated applications without breaking the bank.
Exactly. And don't forget about those frameworks we mentioned earlier, like Spring and Hibernate. Not only do they speed up development, but they also help make the code more reusable and easier to maintain.
So it's about building something that lasts, that can adapt to changes down the road.
Absolutely. That saves money in the long run.
Smart. Okay, we've covered scalability, security, cost effectiveness. But what about integration? Most businesses already have systems in place, and they need to make sure everything works together. Can Java handle that?
That's actually another area where Java really excels. Java developers are experts at integrating new software with existing infrastructure.
How do they do that?
Well, one way is through APIs. They're like messengers that allow different applications to talk to each other.
Okay, so if a company wants its Java application to connect with, say, a payment system like PayPal, they'd use an API.
Exactly. And Java also has what are called middleware solutions, which are basically like a central hub that manages and synchronizes data across different platforms.
So it's kind of like a conductor making sure all the instruments in an orchestra are in sync.
A perfect analogy.
I'm getting a sense that this whole idea of integration is a really big deal for Java.
Absolutely, especially as more and more companies move their operations to the cloud.
Oh, right. Can Java integrate with cloud platforms?
Definitely. It's fully compatible with platforms like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Java developers can build and deploy applications in the cloud, taking advantage of all the benefits that cloud computing offers.
So it's not a choice between Java and the cloud. They actually work really well together.
Exactly.
I'm really starting to see why Java is considered the backbone of so many businesses.
It really is.
It's powerful, it's versatile, it seems like it can handle just about anything you throw at it.
It's pretty impressive stuff. And, if you're thinking about hiring Java developers, there are definitely things you can do to get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, that's a good point. What would you say is the most important thing to keep in mind?
Well, before you even start looking for a developer, you really need to have a clear understanding of your goals for the project. What specific features do you need? What are your performance expectations? What are your absolute must-haves in terms of security and reliability?
That makes sense. You need to know what you're looking for before you start the search.
Exactly.
No.
Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for headaches down the road.
Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive episode 2025-0103, part 2 of 3. It really is. Like if you were building a house, you wouldn't hire an electrician to do the plumbing, right?
Right. You need the right person for the job. So, clearly defined goals. What else?
Well, once you know what you want, the next step is to look for developers who have experience building enterprise-level applications. Someone who's already tackled those challenges and knows how to get things done.
So someone who's been there, done that, and can handle the complexity. But what about people who are just starting out, newer developers? Do they have a chance in the enterprise world? Oh, absolutely. Everyone has to start somewhere.
Right.
But I would say look for people who are really eager to learn, who are passionate about Java. Even if they don't have years of experience, if they have a strong grasp of the fundamentals, they can definitely contribute.
So a good balance of experience and potential. That makes sense. I'm curious about real-world examples. What are some companies actually using Java for?
Oh, wow. Where do we even begin? I mean, Java is used in so many industries. But let's start with something we all use: banks.
Yeah, banks.
They use Java for everything from processing transactions to managing risk to, of course, keeping all that financial data secure.
So when I'm checking my account balance online or making a mobile transfer, it's probably Java doing the heavy lifting.
Most likely, yeah.
And
And it's not just everyday banking. Java is also used for those really complex trading platforms, the ones where every fraction of a second counts. And all those algorithms that detect fraud, Java's behind a lot of that too.
Wow, I had no idea Java played such a big role in finance.
Oh, yeah. It's everywhere. And another big one is e-commerce.
Online shopping.
Yep. Those giant online marketplaces, they use Java to handle millions of transactions, personalize the shopping experience, you name it.
So all those recommendations I see, that's Java too.
Could be, yeah. It's what makes online shopping so smooth and convenient.
I'm starting to see just how widespread Java really is.
And we haven't even touched on healthcare, where it's used to manage patient records, process medical claims, even develop diagnostic tools.
It's incredible how something as, abstract as a programming language can have such a real-world impact.
It really is.
But let's zoom back in on the developers. The world of Java development, it's constantly evolving. What are some of the trends that Java developers need to stay on top of?
Well, one of the biggest ones right now is cloud native development. More and more businesses are moving their operations to the cloud, so developers need to know how to build and deploy applications in that environment.
So it's not enough to just know Java. You need to know how to make it work in the cloud.
Exactly. And that means understanding things like serverless computing, microservices, all that good stuff.
Are there any skills within cloud development that are especially important?
Definitely. One is containerization, using tools like Docker and Kubernetes. It's all about making applications more portable and scalable. And then understanding all the cloud-specific services and APIs that are out there, those are becoming essential too.
So it's a lot to keep up with.
It is, but the good news is the Java community is very active. There are tons of online resources, courses, communities where developers can learn these new skills and stay ahead of the curve.
That's good to know. What about trends beyond the cloud? Anything else shaping the future of Java development?
Well, one really exciting area is AI and machine learning. Java is becoming a popular choice for building AI-powered applications.
Oh, wow. So things like self-driving cars, personalized recommendations, even medical diagnoses?
Exactly. It's all about using Java to create applications that can learn and adapt.
That's pretty amazing.
It is, and it just goes to show how versatile Java is. It can be used for so many different things.
It really can. Now, I know we've been focusing on the positive, but are there any potential downsides to using Java for enterprise applications?
That's a great question. And it's important to be realistic, right?
Absolutely.
So one thing that people sometimes bring up is that Java can be a bit verbose. You often need to write more code to do the same thing compared to some other languages.
So it can get a bit wordy.
Yeah, but that's not always a bad thing. That extra code can actually make it easier to understand and maintain, especially when you have large teams working on a project.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. And then another thing is performance. Java is generally known for its stability and scalability, but it can be a little slower than some other languages like C or C++Y.
So if speed is your top priority, Java might not be the best choice.
Probably not, but for most enterprise applications, Java's speed is more than enough.
Got it. So it's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And one final thing to keep in mind is the learning curve. Java is a powerful language, and it can take time to master.
So if you're in a rush to get a team up and running, Java might not be the quickest option.
That's true. But the good news is, once you learn Java, you've got a skill that's in high demand.
Right, it's a long-term investment. So even though there are some potential downsides, it sounds like the benefits of Java far outweigh them.
I would definitely say so. It's a stable, scalable, secure platform. And with all the tools and talent out there, it's a great choice for businesses that are looking to build applications that can stand the test of time.
Okay, I'm sold. The deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I've learned so much about Java, how it works, what it's used for, and what the future holds. But before we wrap up, I want to talk a bit more about that future. What trends should we be paying attention to, and how is Java evolving to keep up with all the changes in technology?
Ooh, good question. The tech world is always changing, right?
It really is.
And Java is definitely evolving to keep up. One trend that's really interesting is serverless computing. It's all about letting developers focus on writing code without having to worry about managing servers.
So less time dealing with infrastructure, more time focusing on the actual code.
Exactly. And Java is adapting to this trend with frameworks like Spring Cloud Function, which makes it easier to build and deploy serverless applications.
That sounds like a win for developers.
Yeah.
What else is on the horizon?
Well, we talked about AI and machine learning earlier, and that's an area where Java is really gaining traction. As AI becomes more and more prevalent, Java is going to be a key player in its development and deployment.
So we could be seeing even more sophisticated AI-powered applications built with Java in the future.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there's the constant evolution of Java itself. Oracle is always releasing new versions with performance enhancements, new features, security updates. They're constantly making Java faster, more powerful, and more secure.
So Java isn't standing still, it's constantly improving.
Exactly. It's a platform that's built to last.
It sounds like the future of Java is bright, full of exciting possibilities.
Absolutely.
Well, before we get too carried away with visions of the future, I want to bring things back down to earth for a moment and leave our listeners with a challenge, a little something to think about. Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive, episode 2025-0103, part 3 of 3. We've talked about all the amazing things Java can do, all the different ways it's used. and even what the future might hold. But I don't want to just leave it at that.
Oh, what do you have in mind?
Well, I think this deep dive is a great starting point. But it's just that, a starting point.
I like where you're going with this.
If anyone listening is feeling that spark, that curiosity about Java, I say go for it. Don't stop here.
Yeah.
Dive in, do some more research. Maybe there's a specific Java framework that caught your ear, or something that really aligns with your industry.
Right. Or maybe look for case studies, see how other companies have used Java to solve real-world problems.
Exactly. And hey, maybe even try writing some basic Java code yourself.
Oh, that's a great idea.
There's a whole universe of Java knowledge out there waiting to be explored.
I couldn't agree more. It's a fascinating world.
It really is. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to build the next game-changing Java application.
The next big thing.
Exactly. Well, a huge thank you to our expert for sharing your knowledge with us today.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk Java.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Java for enterprise applications. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with technology.